Welcome to the Downwind Foil World Tour podcast. This is sponsored by Access Foils, Code Foils, Cody Leash, and we're here to just talk about the last two races of the year. We've had Crozon, Saint-Tropez over in France. We've had the West Coast Downwinder and the Doctor over in Western Australia. And we've got the final two races going on in Hawaii, arguably the most competitive races. That's not lost on us at all. And there's been a couple warm-up races we want to discuss. But Kai, talk to us about your year so far and how's everything going?
Yeah, well, I mean, the year so far has been pretty epic. I've done a full lap around the world, and then I've done a couple of extra little strike missions in there, and I mean, I'm loving this and having a ball. I went to Germany, did some dock siding races, went to the Caribbean in Guadeloupe, did a Z race over there. That was awesome. Then flew from there straight to Sydney, did the Sydney race, and then I saw the forecast was cranking in Hawaii and went to Hawaii for a month, and then I came home and I don't think I had any races in between, but now, then I went to Tahiti. And then we had Tahiti.
Yeah.
That was an awesome event, super fun. And then flew from Tahiti straight to here and locked in and stopped my vlogs and started training properly.
We all love the vlogs. The vlogs are great. I love the New Zealand ones especially. That's sick. Yeah, I think, you've been putting in the most miles, I guess, in terms of travel for the races. Yeah, we're trying to put together a bit of a regional Downwind Foil World Tour event. You could kind of just put a tracker on Kai and be like, hey, where's Kai going? It's probably going to be a Downwind Foil race. So it's been good. This year's kind of just been highlighting the regional events, but we want to try to make it a bit more, I guess, official next year to have like little sort of mini tours, Hawaii, Europe, you got Guadeloupe, you got New Zealand coming up with some more races too. So it's Downwind Foiling's, I feel like, is in terms of the racing side of things, is in a good space. There's more and more people doing it. There's more and more races popping up. The people that are doing it are supporting them, and it's exciting times. And I've been jealous. You're like, you did another race. I didn't even know this race was on. Like, it looks like conditions are sick, So it's been really cool to follow. And your consistency, I think no one can argue that, like, you've had more wins than anyone else this year throughout. You put the time in, you're getting the results. So I guess a big congrats. And it's no surprise that you are leading the Downwind Foil World Tour rankings at the moment. Can you be beaten? I think mathematically, yes, but you kind of had such a solid first four events that I think Jared's the only one that can beat you mathematically, because Kane has only done the Perth events and I'm not there. And I think even then, mathematically, I wouldn't be able to beat you anyway. But yeah, anyway, we'll have a look at the rankings later on, or I might post them up. But yeah, it's been really cool to see, but also very interesting to see that despite being on top of the leaderboard, you haven't had a win in Hawaii so far in terms of the first two big races. You've been at the pointy end, don't get me wrong, but Kane and Edo have they've had
They've held me off.
Some pretty solid wins the last week. Why don't we kick off with the Voyager race and let us know how that was?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to beat people in their own backyard for sure. But, I spend a lot of time over here, so I have no excuse. The Voyager race we had, last year it was insane conditions. Like, you probably couldn't have asked for better. This year was not far off those conditions. It was cranking outside in the AD sections through to China's. Like, probably the biggest I've ever seen. We had a huge south swell as well. Like, we were just like 10 minutes before the start, like at Sandy's area, there's this like 10-foot wave that just jacked up, and like there was a 2-wave set. It was like, I've never seen a wave break out that far in that area. So it was pretty gnarly. I actually paddled did one stroke prone into this wave that picked me up and got me up on my race foil, which is like tiny. It's like a 480. So like there was a lot of current, a lot of like steep. It was pretty epic. So yeah, that 80 section was kind of like, hold on, you don't have to do like physically too much work, very technical and just ride. And then as we entered into the bay, it kind of flattened out and stretched out, and that's where Edo, at least, like we were together until we entered into the bay, and then his I guess home ground advantage or skills in that water like really showed. It was really impressive actually. We were like, maybe it was one bump ahead on the inside. I was a bit further out, and we get a quarter of the way through. He's probably like 3 bumps, and then halfway through the bay, he does this like sharp right turn and just like cuts in towards Diamond Head, I guess, and just like not drop me, but like put another like 20 seconds on me in just like that last quarter half of that bay section. And then as we were entering through the waves into the finish zone, he got the set. I like came in just behind the set. It went flat. I had to like paddle pump the whole finish. lucky it was like there was good wind, so like it made it like doable. But we had to finish about like 300 meters outside of the windsock where we normally finish because the swell was so big and like closing out.
Yeah.
Like it was pretty intimidating. But yeah, that race was good. I mean, Kane
Yeah, I
got
feel
pretty
like
unlucky in that race.
the last couple of years, like that size south swell that Hawaii has gotten the last, I guess, the last sort of 2 or 3 weeks was what I experienced my very first year in Hawaii, and it hasn't happened since I've been back. Like it's not a super regular occurrence that it lines up with the race season, but it happens, and it's a completely different landscape, I guess, with that south swell. It doesn't really help the bumps, does it? It just makes it,
No, it hurts. It
yeah,
like that last 4 kilometer section, it honestly hinders you. Like it'll flatten out that zone. There's a lot of like weird water moving, not weird, but like it changes how the water flows through that zone, and it sort of kills the wind bumps. So you really have to work hard to like stay on the swell, like coming in to land. And it's I mean, if your floor's not fast enough, you'll just like get a little taster and then have to peel off, and you can't get on it. So you're like looking
yeah.
for something, but it's not there.
And that AD section with that size of swell, would you say it was even gnarlier than normal because of that swell, or was it just kind of AD is always pretty nuts?
I mean, it's pretty nuts. It didn't make it any more hectic than it is on a normal day.
Yeah,
I guess
I guess it's a lot of
like
it's like surface.
there was some stuff sort of like reverbing off the wall and coming like directly at us, but that
Mhm.
sort of happens on a normal day anyway. So
Yeah,
it's hard to say if it wouldn't have been like that if there was no south swell or not.
yeah. It's almost like the shorter period stuff is what causes that real messy stuff at ADs. The long period stuff certainly doesn't help it, but it doesn't hinder it as much as like 30
Mm.
knots of breeze does to create that wind
Yeah,
shock. I know that AD section, a lot of people had issues. Like very good foilers came
yeah.
down once or maybe twice or maybe 3 times in that section. Obviously, you didn't have an issue because no one in the top of any of the races is falling off and still getting the podium at this stage. But yeah, did you come down?
Not in the Voyager race. Kane fell. Kane got really unlucky. He hit 2 fish throughout the run, and like both of the fish took him out. I was like, oh, how unlucky could you get? Like one fish, maybe twice is super unfortunate.
So seaweed in Western Australia and fish in Hawaii.
Fish in Hawaii, man.
Yeah,
No, but yeah, I mean, Trent
yeah,
had a blinder. I was very impressed with Trent. That was my like underdog highlight of that race. Was
yeah,
Trent
for
coming
sure.
in fourth.
Yeah,
That was really cool actually.
yeah.
But
And Nick Capule, we know he's a good racer. He just doesn't always put it together, and
yeah,
it's never a surprise to see him up there, but it's like you don't know if he's going to do it again the next race. I guess the best way to put it, isn't it? I guess
yeah.
the consistency, I think, is what Nick Capule is struggling a little with in the biggest races. It looks like the local Oahu
Yeah,
Four race.
he's got the local ones covered for sure.
Yeah,
I guess it's like I don't know, his approach is probably a little more relaxed for those ones, and he doesn't get as stressed. Maybe I'm not exactly sure. I haven't talked to him about it, but I can
yeah,
see that being easily the case because these
yeah,
races have a little more weight to them, and there's a lot more names and faces around.
yeah. Oh, it's pressure. It's a pressure cooker. So that was cool. Like, obviously, if you were to be told, a week before the Voyager race, would you take a second place? You'd probably take it. Like, there's a lot of heavy hitters, so, second's good. So you happy with that, or are you hungry?
I mean, we're always hungry, but it's not a bad result. Like I can't complain. I had a good race. Like I had no mistakes, like no real mistakes. It's always like little things that will eat at you, but that don't matter. That like the race itself was a good race, and I had no falls. So
Yeah,
I was pretty happy with second.
yeah. And then just yesterday was the Paddle race, which is a bit of a different race. I
Very
really
different
think
atmosphere, and
it's
water is so different.
yeah, it's kind of it's like the easiest in terms of like one respect, but also
Of
the
riding,
hardest in terms of another respect because it's short, which you'd think easier, but because it's so short, mistakes are costly. Maliko runs a super nice run, but finishing at Kanaha, it's different.
is
Like
pretty brutal. Yeah.
it's super brutal, and even like lining up to finish it at Kanaha, you kind of miss the best of Maliko, I feel. So anyway, that's my take. What do you like? What's your take on
Well, I
Paddle and
find
how the
like
race went?
Maliko itself is super friendly, but it's quite challenging to go fast there. Like that run itself is like hard to learn how to move really quick through that water. But once you have it sorted out, I mean, it's it's quite friendly. But
I
I
saw you posting
find,
a
I
couple
mean,
sort of
that
1:30 splits earlier in the week, so it can't be that hard to go faster.
we've had a lot of really good like east swell this whole week. So like leading into this race, the swell's been sort of running in, and I mean, it makes us move really good through there. But the race, like I don't know, this race, Palamua always sort of has the most people
Mm.
that show up for it. I don't know actually the number of, I think there's like over 150 of subfoilers. I don't know exactly the number, but something in that zone. So there's a lot of like people, and that was just our fit. Like our wave was just subfoilers. And
132 finished. Yeah,
yeah, okay. That's a pretty big number to be spaced out, like
yeah.
not incredibly far. And everyone's sort of like tussling for the better spot and keep paddling out further. Like, so that start line is like, if you don't nail that, you're kind of screwed. It's super crucial that you get a really good start off there. Not only just like to get up, but to get your own clean water and get away from like others.
Yeah. What was your strategy for that? Like I know inside line, outside line. I always would always try to get a bit of space away from people.
Mm-hmm.
And what's your strategy?
Yeah, well, my strategy, well, like I got these tracks. I have all my tracks on my watch. So, like, depending on sort of conditions, I would have decided. But I had one track that I had practiced a little bit, and it was really basically paddle out really far and go straight for the pass. So I paddled out pretty far, and then like just got up. Like I wanted to nail the start. That was the only thing I was like really worried about. Was sorry, I got something a bug for my.
I know.
I'm outside getting attacked. Just kidding. But yeah, so that start was super crucial to me, just even mentally more so than anything. But once I nailed the start and it was great. I had a good like kilometer stretch that I was just like feeling myself. And then I don't know if it was the water, but I talked to a couple others and it felt a little like heavier. So there might have been a little bit of current running that day. It didn't really slow us down that much though.
No, you guys are moving.
Yeah, and then I was a fair bit further in than Kane and Edo. That I could see them out to the right of me. Kane was from about 5 kilometers, like happily in front. He was hauling. Rosetta was like straight out to sea from me. So I was like, we were battling. And then at kilometer 7, I just was riding too high, and my wing came out of the water and breached, and my board went flying into the air. And by the time I paddled, like swam over to my board, I got my board, then paddled back to my paddle and got back up, I had lost like 45 seconds. So I was like, that's like for a race that short, 45 seconds. I think I figured out it was like 3% of the race.
Mm.
It's a big chunk.
What's happening?
So
Yeah.
yeah. So I was like, oh well, I'm like fully out of the podium rankings now. So like I got back up. And I'm like, no one's passed me yet. So I was like, okay, this is great. And I saw Guido just out to sea of me. I was like, okay, I don't see anyone else. Let's get to it again. And then yeah, I just worked it as pretty much as hard as I could all the way to the finish, and ended up catching up a lot of ground through the lagoon section, and was not too far behind Edo in the end, but wasn't able to catch him. Definitely lost too much ground, but was
Yeah, it
happy with
was.
Happy with
Yeah,
the podium, but annoyed with my mistake. But it's racing, so it's
yeah,
what it is.
yeah. And like if I don't know if you're going to make a mistake, paddle mill is the worst one to make a mistake because it's so short. But also, it's not the big one. Like the big ones are coming to M2O. Kane really Edo looks like the guy to beat after Voyager. It's his local run.
It's
Oh,
kind of
sorry.
like that. Though. It's like Edo's like the one to beat on Oahu, and then you come to here and Kane's the one to beat. It's like they're those two, like Oahu and Maui. It's that's how I see
Yeah,
it. Like
and I'd say from looking at the sort of live stream at the end, it looked like Kane was pretty
he was comfy.
dominant.
He was
Like
comfortable.
he
Yeah.
won by
He was happy.
a minute, probably. He won by a minute.
Solid.
And Edo, from what I hear, didn't really make any. He didn't fall. He didn't make any like disastrous mistakes. His biggest mistake was like the gap is bigger because he had a shocking dismount.
Yeah.
Like he came down at the marker, paddled in, flipped his board over, and like kind of, if he was any slower, you would have had him because your dismount was so good. Like your dismount, you literally, I mean, if you guys haven't seen, I might have to put it up in here, but like Kai literally foiled all over the beach, stepped off his board into about knee-deep water, and then ran up the beach. Like, he could not have been any more seamless. It was super impressive, dude. That was wild. Do you practice that?
No, I've never practiced that, but I nailed it. Well, I know how like the sand is there; it's pretty deep all the way to the edge. So if you can get really close. And I've not practiced it, but I was so happy I nailed it.
It was like honestly, it was almost like a dry finish. Like it was almost like you stepped off, and if you hadn't fallen halfway, you would have maybe had a dry run from when you started, kind of thing. It was,
Yeah.
but
No,
yeah,
it kept
it
the
was
momentum through running up the beach. It was it
seriously. It's
was
like
it
your
was fun.
momentum from the foil like sends you up that little berm in
The
the
BAM.
yeah. So super impressive. But
Thanks.
again, not overly important. They're sort of two races. They're really the warm up
Yeah.
races, and
They're
they're
the warm up.
super competitive, and I think they're like probably the most legitimate like regionals, so to speak. But the big ones to coming up Friday in Hawaii, and then M2O Monday in Hawaii. What are you thinking? Like, where's your headspace at? Are you set on your foil choice? Are you set on your lines? Are you confident?
I mean, in myself, yeah, I'm feeling pretty good. I've done a few channel crossings this year with some of the boys, and we had like sort of back and forth. Basically, just what I really wanted to do was spend more time in that water, because there's each channel like has a very unique sense to it, and their water moves so differently in both of them. And there's like different sections, like the M2M race. Like we have the channel, which is like the swell moving real good. Then you have the Kamalo section, which just completely changes. Like you got to switch completely to like bay style bumps and weave your way through it all the way to the finish. So just being immersed in that water was something I really wanted to spend time doing, and not necessarily like go fast. Like I wasn't really worried about during the like practice runs going incredibly fast. There'd be moments where I'd be like, oh, this is sick, and like go for it. But no, I really value just trying to be immersed in that water and really feel it out more than anything.
Yeah. Like you said, big time to M is like, it's like two completely different sections. That first half is like some of the biggest sort of open ocean stuff you get. And then the second half is like, it's kind of the bay run, like the wind bends around the corner. It's offshore. There's bumps running, but it's so perfectly lined up that it's hard.
Mm.
I had a shocker last year. I had a really good first half of the race last year for M2M, and then the second half I completely unraveled. I could not adjust to that change in sort of open ocean to little straight lines all over the place. And I
Yeah.
went from like maybe a top 10 to like, I think outside the top 20. I was like, ugh, back to the drawing board. But yeah, I guess, do you see, like, are you using a certain foil or certain strategy for each of those sections, different line choices? I know Edo has always gone really far south, sort of towards Lanai,
Mm-hmm.
whereas I know Kailani always hugs the island for sort of shorter distance. There's different tactics there, obviously. Edo's had a bit of success recently, so you could argue the south line's better. But yeah, what are you, without giving too much away, what are you?
There's no secrets here. Yeah, I mean, I think the top 10 guys, maybe even 15, because the field is so like competitive now. The line choice is going to be pretty similar. The like we've toyed around with going along the island like close by, and there's no like real benefit for it. So you're basically aiming for Lanai, which is the island below Molokai, for half of the race, and then as it sort of like you'll hit this weird current line and water change where it goes from the big ocean stuff to start having like offshore wind that you're starting to like they get that bay bumps start to grow, and then that's when you start to slowly sort of roll back in, and but you don't want to go straight in, because if you cut in too fast it's too slow to get back out and go down the bumps. You want to sort of weave your way along and down as much as you can until you probably the last 5 kilometers where you want to sort of run along it straight into Kanakakai,
Yeah.
the boat harbor.
How much are you relying on like landmarks versus your watch? Because I know for the Sydney race, you were like dead eye, like with your watch. And I was like, dude, you're a long way out. And you're like, had my plan. It was all like you were right on track. So similar for the racing in Hawaii?
Yeah. Yeah, I have my tracks, and normally like that track isn't going to be affected too much by the conditions. Obviously, like if I'm feeling some sort of water like moving a different way, then I'll adjust to it. And I'm like, I'm not set on the track. The track has a suggestion, but I need that suggestion to know like that's where I'm like if I get at all flustered or confused, that's where I need to be. Like that's my ballpark. So the line choice is like pretty crucial. Yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like the channel racing, there's been discussions about escort boats, M12 especially, but the nature of the channels and the racing in the channels is that you do want to use, it's almost 3, 4, 5 kilometers like east west or north south, I guess. You some people go really far north, like towards the island, I guess, on M2, and some will go really south towards Lanai, and it's at least 3 kilometers wide, I would say. And so it's a big area. Like for M2O, like the escort boat thing it's tough to manage because of all, especially if you're not in the top 3. Trust me, it's worse
Yeah,
outside the top 3. There's
I've
just
been
all this
there.
boat wash, and there's been suggestions about lots of different things. But yeah, I think because there is that magnitude of space out there, and the lines, the importance of the line choices, that the boats kind of are needed, I think, for safety. But we'll talk about that more later. But yeah, the M2M not so much, because at least you're stuck between 2 islands. Like Lanai is like your
Yeah,
southern marker, and Molokai is
so,
your northern marker.
like the feeling in that area is a lot friendlier than the Kaiwi. That the M2O channel there's a lot more. There's a lot more energy in that water as well, but there's a lot more. I mean, it's the Channel of Bones. That's its name. That's its translation. So it makes sense why it's
Yeah.
called that.
Yeah. We'll just finish actually for M2M, like that last bit. I'm not sure how far they're making you guys pump in for the finish this year.
Same
But
as last year. There was a little
okay.
bit of talk of it. They're putting it to like inside the harbor, but Shannon posted it's on the website at least. It's that second port marker just
Yeah.
inside the reef. So
Yeah.
it's
Last year when they
you can
posted, I was
ride
like,
whatever you
I
want.
kind of thought it was a bit short. But when I got there, I was like, man, I'm glad it's here, because if it was any further in, that would have sucked.
Yeah, fully.
Yeah.
No,
So
especially like I don't know. Like I've done a few practice runs and I can definitely finish if I had to inside with the foil I've been using, but it requires like a lot more effort. And this finish sort of like removes the thoughts or the thinking of maybe I ride something bigger to make sure I finish that.
yeah.
For like what an extra like 400 meters, you're considering riding a bigger wing. It's I don't know, it just seemed a bit funny. So I'm happy that it's nothing's changed and we continue with whatever the race was last year and
I think
sort of
consistency is
in the
the
win
most,
line.
yeah, consistency is the most important thing. I think, if that's the
Absolutely.
way it is, then everyone can train for that and be ready for that. Because if you needed that more low end, you'd kind of try to be dialing in foils for that to increase that agonizing last 400 meters after sprinting across the channel. You know, it's
Yeah.
it's definitely the foil. Like a lot of people talk about, like, or people paddle it. They should go the whole distance, but it's a really important 400 meters, that last 400 meters, because if you come off foil, it's
Well,
a 2-minute paddle. But if you can keep going, it's like 20 seconds, that
yeah.
last little bit. So it's, yeah, I
Yeah,
I
like
got Kai
the
a couple of years ago. Yeah. Yeah.
2 years
Good.
ago, I passed like 10 to 15 people in that section just because they're all paddling and they couldn't finish it. So yeah, it can cause a lot of upset in that zone for sure.
Yeah. Which I don't think, like, it's still part of the race, but I think the most important thing is the consistency. If that's where the race is finishing, then it's got to finish there all the time. You can't be like, oh, this year conditions are like this,
Yeah,
so we're going to have to finish inside. It's like, you know, I got to completely rethink my whole strategy here, because yeah,
completely.
it's a
No, keep the consistency. We
yeah,
like it.
consistency. So look, M2O is the big
The
one. Everyone knows it. Like
Yes.
it's the one. If you're going to win one all year, that's the one you want to win. Even with the Down and Forward World Tour, we discussed, like, in the committee, giving it, double or 1.5 times the points or double the points kind of thing. And we chose not to, just because we wanted to encourage people to travel to the other events and sort of grow the sport more and more, because Hawaii is for sure the nucleus of where everything's happening. At M2O, it's all around that one race for sure. Epic race. The new course for the foil is unbelievable. So much fun.
Yeah.
It's actually my favorite race, like, of all the Hawaiian races. And prior to the foil, M2O on the SUP was an absolute grind. Like, it was not fun. Didn't even really feel like a downwind race. It was more of an ocean race, because the right quartering from the beach versus Ilio Point is one factor. And then the other factor is you're starting in the bumps now, almost the biggest bumps at Ilio, and you're finishing. Obviously Hawaii Kai, like the bay, isn't epic compared to the channel, but it's still downwind the whole way. You're not,
Yeah.
there's no upwind section, put it that way. Like there
Yeah,
was finishing
there's
at Fort Knox.
nothing truly difficult about it. Like I mean, there's difficult sections in it, but as far as like it's downwind race, it's kind of perfect.
Yeah, it's perfect downwind.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And yeah, I don't know, what would you say the most
It gets
difficult
hard.
parts of it?
There's honestly, for me, the most difficult is just in the channel and finding your actual flow through there, because you can lose your connection and flow through that section, and then you're off the pace for a K, and then you're back on for a couple. But if you can keep that momentum going through the channel is probably the most like crucial thing. I mean, I've spent enough time on like Oahu and around there. I mean, it can be hard, but even on the like really crappy days, you can still finish like on your small foil if there's like wind, you know. So I mean, I put enough work in that physically, I think I'll be fine if it comes to something like that. So in just keeping that rhythm through the channel is honestly the most important part.
Yeah, yeah, totally agree. It's a long channel section. It's pretty much 50, 45, 50 Ks, that channel section, and there's
Yeah.
different faces to it.
There's so many. There's a few different sections within the channel itself. Like you have that at the point, that first 5K is normally pretty like juiced up, and then you'll sort of come out of that section and it might go a little weird glassy for a little while, then it'll pick up again, and then it's a bit confused, doesn't know which way the wave wants to come through. But yeah, so there's many different sections. Then you get to Oahu, and I mean, if we have north wind, the wind kind of throws you off because it sort of hits Oahu, runs along it, and shoots out to sea, and it can be very deceiving with your line choice, especially if you think you're in the right place and get hit with a headwind. It can be, you know, quite intense.
Thanks for coming on, Kai. As I said, flying the Aussie flag, even though you got that American accent every now and then. And yeah, no, excited to see how well you're going. And yeah, go get it. We'll keep doing some more podcasts in the build up. We'll try to get Kane or Edo on as well, and you know, some of the dark horses too. So keep following along. And yeah, Kai Thompson, thanks for coming on, mate.